Alright, let's see how many interruptions I get for this video. Hi, welcome to and read another chapter. Today I have a wrap-up of my first impressions video that I have already filmed, and I will leave it linked down below. And this is in regards to, it's so beautiful out here, but there's a lot of distractions, but it's so quiet too. I'm getting interruptions constantly inside. Unless, oh, it's a squirrel. You're on my roof. Do you want to read too? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh my. Continue on. This has to do with the Christian Book Distributors, or CBD is what we called it growing up. Their box that you can purchase, you pay $10 and you get 10 books is what it ends up. And so with boxes like that, you kind of wonder what you're getting into. A lot of these books I had not even heard of. Some of the authors I had never heard of, so it's kind of a affordable way to try new authors, get new experiences and whatnot. But I wanted to give a final wrap-up of the videos. So I had a first impressions video that I've already filmed, and I'll leave it linked down below for you. And this is going to be the wrap-up of those. I want to start with the one that I was looking forward to a lot, and some problems I have with this one. So this is a series. This is Sister Eve, Private Eye, a Devine private detective agency mystery. And throughout the book, it is constantly referenced that it's Devine, not divine. And I was really looking forward to this. I love Father Brown. I love Agatha Christie. I really, really love the Grantchester Mysteries books. I do not like what the TV series did to the books, but I really enjoyed the books. So I was really looking forward to this. And knowing that it's going to bring in a Catholic faith, that wasn't going to be a problem for me. What is a problem is that this is marketed at Christian fiction, and so you kind of expect a certain standard with that. With this book, and it's published by Thomas Nelson, and I'm seeing more of this with Thomas Nelson. With this book, it has more of a woke culture aspect to it. So for some of you, this is going to appeal. For some of us, I would have preferred to have been warned, because of how it was approached. So in here we do have a gay couple, and I kept trying to figure out, how does this portray in the plot? We have homosexuals around us, and as part of interaction with everyday life, okay. And if it was that kind of aspect of it, I would have been, alright, you know, interaction with day-to-day life, I can get it, I can understand, I can stand behind that. However, our main character has a conversation with her father, and it doesn't sound like he's a religious man. And so, for me, this conversation with somebody in her faith, she didn't know where she stood on it. She didn't know how she felt, and she just was like, it's okay, I guess. And that, to me, was really concerning. Another aspect of this book is it's centered around Hollywood movie stars and things like that. And another aspect of it was, this one guy talked about how he wanted to be in the church. And she's like, well, what made you leave? He's like, well, now I'm a Hollywood director. It's the same thing. What? He compares the church, and in some ways I will give him points for this, if we want to call it that. He's like, you do the same thing in a church. You captivates the audience. You put lights, you dim, you have music, you set the mood, you put everybody in, and I'm like, what? Worship is much more than that. And again, if the author was trying to make a point that this is what we have done to our church culture, I would have more of an okay aspect of that. But Sister Eve just has more of a, well, that's uninspiring. Like, how about that's wrong? Church is about worship. It is not about what we can get out of it. It just, again, it was just one of those things, another point to this book that I really did not like. The whole mystery of this was very frustrating because at the end when you have the whodunit, I'm like, where did that even come from? So I don't have a high review for this. If this was marketed not as a Christian fiction book, but as a book with maybe inspirational elements, because you have Sister Devine, you do have some cultural talk in here. She does have a female Methodist pastor that is like her best friend and she talks to. So if you wanted to market it as more of a clean read or inspirational read, I think I would have less of a problem, but you cannot market it, in my opinion, you cannot market this as a Christian read. It does not, how do I want to put it? I'm sorry, I got distracted. Now my thoughts went, why is my scent in my car? Kind of, what is going on here? But Steven! One what? A Go-Gurt. So, because of those elements, and because, again, the mystery was just, it wasn't there for me. So, I was kind of disappointed in this, and I had very high expectations of that. So, and while I was reading this, I had family visiting, my sister-in-law, and she's like, well, why do you continue to read these? And I was like, because I want to know what aspect, like, where is it going with our homosexual couple? Where is it going with this mystery? And then I have a review so that if I had listened to somebody reading the review on this, I probably wouldn't have picked this book up. That's the kind of things that would bother me. For other people, they're looking for more of that into the books, and so that would be helpful for them. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that. The other one I was really looking forward to, probably even more than Sister I, was The String by Caleb Breakey. And I'm going to say my only negative review about this book is that there is so many characters and we're switching back and forth between first-person perspective and third-person perspective, or third-person past perspective. So you get the whole scene in front of you with different characters and whatnot. And there's a ton of characters. So sometimes it's really hard to get into the story because you're trying to keep everything straight. Especially because it is a mystery and you're trying to solve. And so it's getting down into, okay, this happened and this is part of it and this is part of it. So because of all of that, I would say that was more of a negative for me. It was definitely a drop in rating. But it was really good. It was really good. And it makes me want to read more by this author. How much I can really talk about this, I can't. And it's frustrating. I need some of you guys that have gotten this to read it because I need to talk about this. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I had that issue, and then I have an issue with how it ended. I really do, and I need to talk to somebody about it. So if you have read this, email me. I'm going to leave it down below because I need to talk about it. But I really did enjoy it. I really enjoyed the mystery of it. I was not able to kind of follow along in the sense that I didn't have it figured out, kind of thing. I didn't know who was doing it. I didn't know how it was being done. And it is definitely more of a fast-paced, in-the-moment kind of book. It's really all I can say about it. Again, I just enjoyed it. I loved getting the perspective of the conductor, the guy who is conducting this whole thing. Best review that I can give on this book is usually when I read a mystery or anything like that, I don't tend to reread them. That whole suspense and who did it and all of that, it's gone. But I need to reread this to kind of see where all the dots connected and how it came to the conclusion that it did, which gives it a point for me, or a star or whatever. So really did enjoy loving that one once it was finished. There is some gruesome things in there. At the beginning, they're talking about a dog and what's going to happen with this dog if she doesn't follow the conductor's setup instructions. And so I knew for my daughter, it's not going to be a good fit for her. So if you have trigger warning, or is it called trigger warnings? If you're more sensitive, it may get too intense for that. So definitely wanted to keep, let you know more about that. The first one I did finish out of all of these was Blessings by Lynn Cote. And this, I did this one first. I'm not reading mystery at night anymore. I have way too much of an active imagination, and then my dreams get really crazy. But for this, I needed some downtime. I have desperately been needing that. And that is the thing about Christian fiction, I have to say, is that it is the easiest book to pick up and have downtime and know that you're not going to get into just scenes I don't want to read. I don't want to read bedroom scenes. I don't want to read oopsies in the sense that I slept with somebody else or anything. I just want some downtime. So that's what I have to say about Christian fiction that I like. More importantly, I like Christian fiction that's nitty and gritty, but doesn't have those sex scenes. They don't have the language. They don't have the oopsies. It's a dumb way to say it, but that's how I heard it referenced, and so now it's stuck in my head. And especially after reading a couple of really hard and gritty books lately, and some of the scenes, some of the language, I needed a break. And so this is the one that I picked up. I know I'm not getting to that. And it fits so much of the Christian fiction realm and the kind of things that I would inhale on a consistent basis. Before I was able to kind of mature enough to step out into more secular books. So I'm saying that in the sense that it doesn't have, I think Christian fiction lately has really had a strong turn into not saying that the hardest things that Christian women go through is finding the right guy or having a self-esteem aspect to it. I think we've gotten past all that, which I'm very thankful for. But then there's books like this where it's like, oh, it fits all the things that I read. With Blessings, she is a Quaker woman in Ohio, in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is really interesting because now that I've been there, it had kind of a connecting piece to it. I had a connection to that. And we have a boy. I'm going to call him a boy. I know he's a man, but he's acting like a boy. And so he's not a character I particularly like. But we have a boy basically getting out of daddy's pockets and going to, you know, make a name for himself by doing everything that will irritate his father. He's acting like a boy. And our main character is a widow from a awful marriage. The guy was basically abusive and weak. And so she has a negative view of men. Again, it's just fitting all these classic things. And she is working with the Underground Railroad, but more importantly, she's working against a guy in this town that basically prostitutes women and beats them and does whatever he wants with them because he treats them as pieces of property rather than a human being. And so she rescues them. And without wanting to, our main male, Gerard, ends up in the middle of this. I need a glass of water. Hold on. So he's kind of getting caught up in what she's doing, not really wanting to, but he's still intrigued by her, and he is wanting to build this racetrack. And so he's trying to get influential people, she has a lot of money, to kind of support this endeavor. And he ends up with the bad guy. He's out to ruin his reputation, and then you kind of figure out how this guy is working in this. Our villain, like, why is he so obsessed at getting back at Gerard and the widow, and what is his role in it? I think I gave it 3 stars because I liked it. Oh, I actually need that. That is a dental appointment card. I liked it, but it's not going to stick with me. It's not going to stay with me. It's been several weeks since I finished these books. I just haven't had any time to do this review wrap-up video. So, I mean, that's how much it stayed with me the last time, and I know my daughter will enjoy it, so she's going to read it. It's fine. And it is the 3rd one to a series. I think it's the 3rd. But my point being, I don't think you have to read them in order. So I have 2 more books, and I'm going to talk about this one and then save the best for last kind of thing. And this is upside down, so let me do it this way. So this is Beyond I Do. When I got this, and I want to say maybe like I combined in my head these 2 books, and I thought that this was going to be Beyond I Do. This was going to be one of those books that, hey, what happened after they get married, and like now you're adjusting to being one with somebody else, and you have to give up a part of yourself. It's not all about you anymore. It's about serving each other. And I was really expecting that. But that is not what this book is at all. This is very much a love triangle Christian romance book. And our main girl here, our main heroine, she is a mousy creature. She has a mom that's trying to think of a comparison because I have it in my mind. More Lorelai Gilmore, but I would say Lorelai has much more mothering than this one does. But she's just flighty. She just wants to be the best friend. She wants to be the buddy. She doesn't want to be the mom. And so, and she's constantly leaving people at the altar. She's divorcing. She's not committed mom. And so because of that, our main girl, Ainsley, our main girl, Ainsley, is not wanting to be this. And she's a new Christian. And she's engaged. And her fiance is a psychologist. So her therapist is what he was, and then they end up engaged in all these things. But she has a lot of red flags about him. He's very controlling. That's actually not her red flag at all. Her red flag is that he doesn't seem committed enough to the Christian faith, which is, you know, something that needs to be considered here. But I'm going to give her credit because she is a new Christian and she's still learning, but she wasn't listening to the counsel that the tightest two women in her life should have been giving her. And I can't tell if they were or not, to be honest. It sounds like they were just keeping quiet and trying to point her in a godly way by herself, but not raising flags up for this situation. I'm going to flip this. So that to me was a little disturbing. But he's obsessed. He's obsessed about this idea of her in his life, somebody that he has perfected and is now his wife, and he can show his father that he is a man of something. He's trying, this fiance is trying desperately to basically show his father that he can be his own man, and he's got his bride, he's got this book deal that's going to happen. But to be honest, in his obsession over Ainsley, who decides to call off the wedding, his obsession to get her back, he starts losing control of his life. And it's just so cliche. And then we have our other guy that comes into the picture, Daniel? I don't remember what the other guy's name is. Richard is the Chris. Okay. Richard's the fiance. Chris is another guy that comes into the picture. And he was a lawyer, top-notch lawyer. And he has decided that it has cost him so much, he walks away from this. And then he decides that he is going to be a better Christian, be a better person. And so he opens up this coffee shop on the prompt from the Holy Spirit. And this Holy Spirit is going to turn this coffee shop into something amazing. With this, also, Ainsley has this hidden talent of being an amazing musician, artist, singer, and all of that. She just has this hidden talent that is not being allowed to be expressed because of Richard's stiflement. So he's going to have this coffee shop, but the reason he has this coffee shop is because his mother is in a nursing home that is not a good fit. Like, this nursing home is nasty. And he wants her in a better one, but he needs some money to do it. So he's going to just get this coffee shop with the Holy Spirit's prompting and with the Lord's blessing to make enough money to move her. And then there's conflict between him and his sister on this. And so all that. Honestly, the aspect of the whole trying to work with his sister over what the mom needs most and like his relationship with the mom, that was the most interesting to me. Hi, Mosquito, go that way, please. Thank you. But all in all, it was like a 2-star read for me. It was just, it was okay. Again, it's a very fluffy read. Love triangle, obsessive boyfriend, fiance, constantly thinking about her, constantly wanting this ideal life. This coffee shop guy with a barista that's fawning all over him, who then Ainsley's going to stumble in on and assume all the bad things. Oh yeah, and he has a past that is misconstrued by the media, and that's going to come in. So there you go. That's your cup of tea. There you go. And then we have They Dance Dawn, a Darling family novel. And this one is the 4th book in the series. I don't remember. It's on GoodReads. If you follow me on there, it says in parentheses and blah, blah, blah. Speaking of GoodReads, that's always linked down below as much as I can remember to copy and paste all my information like that. So this is a charming and delightful story. I needed that after a couple of duds. This one is, I don't know what the previous books were about. You can kind of tell that there's probably another book, but it honestly wasn't until I went to GoodReads and did my review that I was like, yes, there is more, but I did not feel like I was losing anything of the story, which high points to the author for that, Kara Armstrong Gardner, and I want to read the Darling Saga. I want to read all the books. So again, another high points. But this one tells the story of Jane Darling. I remember that because, come on, Andy Griffith, the Darling family. Yeah. Anyway, they are a Catholic family. I think they're Catholic. And I mention that only because I know some people are trying to look for Catholic-centered content. And I think they're Catholic. So maybe, I'm not sure. If it is, it's a very subtle thing. So anyway, but the main focus right now is more on Jane's relationship with the Lord in this time of her life where her husband has Lou Gehrig's disease. And it's just her struggle with him going to die and him being the strong man in her life and is now weakening bit by bit. Along with Jane's story, we have her children, and I think even her grandchildren. No, I'm sorry. It's their children's stories. There's grandchildren in there, but the children we get more of their perspective, I think, than the grandchildren. And with their children, we have a daughter that is an alcoholic, but she's kind of in the denial stage. And so she's kind of losing her control over her life. We have a daughter that's just recently moved out, and she's kind of this vegan and back to earth, back to nature. Not in a extreme way, just like the house she gets has these chickens, and she's like, I'll take care of them and I'll bring you the eggs in return, and so on and so forth. So she was an interesting character, and her relationship with her boyfriend was very interesting. We have, I want to say they have 5 kids. So there's 2, and then at least 2 more. There's at least 2 more. There's a brother and a sister, and they're trying to get mom to realize that this Lou Gehrig's disease is not going away. Jane's aspect of this, Jane's wife, is that you just have to have enough faith in God. God says he will heal if you just have the right amount of faith. Why won't anybody have this faith? Why is it all on her? Why is she having to constantly be like, no, you don't need a walker, you don't need a cane, you don't need a wheelchair, you just have to have the faith and then God will heal you. And this is a test of our faith. And I know so many people, I shouldn't say so many, I know people like that. And so this conflict that she's going through was so, I don't want to say refreshing, but I really loved the point of view. And I loved how the author did it in such a very gentle way of her having to know that God works in the way that he is going to work. And it has nothing to do with our works. It has everything to do with who he is. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed just her learning to let go. And it wasn't a night and day. It was this, what am I doing wrong? Honestly, I'm seeing how these helps are benefiting him, especially because he is weakening. And just her faith struggle and learning to retrust in God and who she learns as she learns more about him, not who she thinks he was, but who he actually is. And it was enjoyable. It was a very enjoyable book. And why I love this is because, you know, my husband and I, we have kids that are growing up, and a lot of the books that you can find nowadays are like Finding Your Prince Charming. There's not a whole lot that I have read about after Prince Charming and the things that come up in marriage and how these people deal with it. And as a person that takes, I want to say like nonfiction moments, things that you learn about a marriage, so you learn about child rearing, you learn about all of that. I can put all that information up here, but then reading it and seeing it played out in action, seeing the ways different people process that information as well, and things that kind of jump up at you out of nowhere that maybe books don't detail about. That doesn't put very well. But just taking all of that information and putting it in a, it's probably why I love Charlotte Mason education so much, but putting it in a living way, putting it in a way that I am seeing people live it out in their day-to-day lives in a fictional setting, because in the fictional setting, there's a happily ever after at the end. There's something to look forward to at the end. You have the climax that you expect, and why people don't like books with the, you know, the letdown that you have. We want that happy ending, right? And so in life, you know, with all the struggles, you may end up passing away without having all the things resolved. And in a book, you kind of have that all tied up in a neat package. If that makes sense. So that's why I like books like that. Everything's going to be tied up and everything's going to end up as it should be. Because life doesn't always work out that way. And I know that. That's why I escaped to a book. So, anyway, I really enjoyed that one. That's going to be a wrap up on these 4 books that I read. Or 5, excuse me, on these. That's going to be a wrap up of these 5 books that I finished after my first impressions video. Which I started filming another first impressions for the second 5. And I think I'm going to really like those 5 books. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, especially I thought these were going to be the top 5. Actually, I picked out like 3 that I thought were going to be really good, and then 2 I was like, meh, and I think we're going to have a good read with the next 5. So, and then stay tuned. If you are not subscribed to my video, go ahead and subscribe, because then I'm going to do a video on, was this worth it? Like with all the books that I read and now I have on my shelves, now I have to weed through and go through and blah blah blah. Was the box worth it? So stay tuned for that. And until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter. Bye.